Hey there! Sorry I'm kinda dark. I'm focusing the light on where the yarn is going to be. So I got partway along this process and realized I should probably include it in the videos. So what I did is I needed to try out and see if this was getting big enough. So I used a yarn needle to transfer all the stitches onto a length of yarn, and I just held it up against the back of my head. And I feel like there is enough of it there to just start going straight. So now I am putting the yarn back on the needles, and I'm going to kind of quit with doing increases at this point. And another thing is, since part of the problem I was having was I had too many stitches, and it was starting to be a struggle to keep them on, I'm going to go to splitting it across 4 needles instead of 3, which means I need to find the other needle in this set. So I may have to pause at that point, but for now, here's what I'm doing. So up to here is where I've put it back on the needle, and I can tug that loose now. Wouldn't matter if I left it for a while longer. So then all I need to do is just go a bit down here. So let's see, I tried to get the first one about 3/4 of the way, so the next one will get about halfway. I don't have to get it all at once though. But I just need to pick up each stitch. That my contrast piece of yarn is holding in place. By the time I'm done with this process, I will have picked out the entire length of the contrast piece of yarn. So that'll just be a piece of yarn that's no longer anything to do with this hat. So that's why I chose a very different color of yarn, to make it easy to see it as I was taking it out. Let's see, a couple more stitches and that'll be about halfway. Okay, that'll do. Now I'm just going to try to keep doing what I had been doing. Now here's the problem. Here's one of my corner increases. I just knitted. Now I need to purl on this one over here, but I've got this here. So I'm still going to purl and then knit, but I won't do the yarn over in between. So just purl, knit. Oh, phone wants electrons. Phone is being the main camera that I'm pointing at the yarn, so phone gets electrons. Just a minute. Because phone will pitch a fit if it doesn't get electrons. Phone will go on strike, which there's a time and a place for. Oh, there's my hand. Yeah, okay. Getting electrons now. There we go. Ah, okay. Now I can keep that on. And now you can see me. Okay. Where was I? No idea. Can't be important, right? So the phone has to lean a little bit because it's in the. I had to put the charger up to it, so that's okay. We'll make it. There we go. Now let's see, where was I had just purled and then knitted. So here's another purl. I'm still trying to get more kids signed up in my people who play with string too. So far, I've still only got the one, and I mean, she is awesome. But of course, it's better to have a group that has several people in it because, well, that's what a group is. It's supposed to have more people. That'll let it relax a bit. So on Monday, I will get to move this around again. Could have waited and only done it once, but there's a whole weekend in there. I can knit over the weekend. So on Monday, I will be switching this onto a set of circular knitting needles that are coming in the mail. And by the way, so I was looking at the options of sets of circular knitting needles, and I mean, if I hadn't have found a better option, I would have ordered it from Amazon. Now that said, on Amazon, the options I was finding were, I mean, there were some really expensive ones, and then there were ones that were in about the $20 to $30 range, but they were brands I'd never heard of, and some of the reviews were sketchy. And it's like, I don't love any of these options, is the reaction I was having. And, it's good if you have an option you like. So, I didn't know if this was going to work, but it occurred to me that, among other things, it could be useful to, instead of buying something new, be a little more environmentally friendly by buying something used, or at least something that wasn't signaling to the manufacturer that more of it needed to be made. So I looked on eBay, because if I could find a used set that had, almost nothing missing or something like that, that could be a good option. Well, what I found on eBay was a perfectly respectable, middle tier brand, new in box. Must have been a reseller or something like that. That got a wholesale lot of them somehow. Um, Maybe when a store closed or something like that. And Uh, it was cheaper to get the mid-tier brand from eBay, new in box, than to get the sketchy brand from Amazon. Of course, I didn't get Prime shipping. It's still free shipping, but it's coming USPS instead of UPS, which is, fine. I mean, we're not talking about something I need super urgently. When time is a factor, yeah, you look for something with an expedited shipping option. That's fine. But we're talking about hobby supplies here. It's okay to wait a couple extra days to get your hobby supplies so that you can get more hobby supplies. Or so that you can actually get them in the first place. So, yeah, don't forget to check eBay for hobby supplies. It's something I forget probably too often, really. Of course, another thing I could have done, didn't do, could have probably done, was so these double pointed needles I have here are the super cheap ones from Wish. One thing that might have worked would be to cut one in half and file down the end a bit so that it wouldn't just be a block that would make it hard for things later on, and then use a length of shrink tubing on the two ends to make a circular needle that way. It, it seems like a thing that could probably work. The concern I'd have about that is if the shrink tubing pops off, there's not a lot of options for how to fix it. Because it's, half melted plastic. That's what's going on here. Nope, don't just pass over without knitting. Knit in that. There we go. Okay. So now go on to that needle. Yeah. But first, let me get out to the corner piece. Which one is the corner increase? I think yeah, it's that one. Okay, so the last one on the corner increase. So I will, to get there, purl and knit. And then purl, not increase, and knit. There we go. It's tight. Why are you staying so tight? sugar pin a bit more. There we go. Ah, and there's the other one. See how weird it looks with the corner not pointing at a corner anymore of the needles, yeah. That'll relax once I get a few more rows onto this. Actually, I could put a few more stitches right on this. So I don't need the next needle yet. It's just good to have it there. Oh, could have still. Oh well. And about there. Let's see, knit, knit, knit. So this one should be due for a purl. Yeah, it looks like. So then a purl. And a knit. And a purl. And knit. Purl. A knit. And purl. And of course, knit. Yeah, so that's staying right with that ribbed pattern. Good, good, good. So see, even split onto 4 instead of 3, it's kind of just about at the capacity of the needles. So on 3, I kept having to recollect ones that fell off the ends. It was getting tricky. Now I'll have to really pay attention to what goes on at the end here. Because just as an engineering problem, I've been adding 6 stitches by at each corner, doing a knit, a yarn over, and a purl in 3 corners, so that's 2 additions. Now I'm only doing knit and purl in each corner, and so that seems like it's only adding 3 stitches, so I may need to do something different over here to keep it adding an even number, so it'll keep the rib pattern going. start. Another. What am I on? A pearl. Okay. So I was talking with my student in that group about how amazing it is that so many stitches have to go into things. So I was working on a little weaving project, and she had some knitting going. And we talked about how small the threads are, and so how many threads each way, or as the case may be, how many tiny loops it takes to make clothes. And how, if for some reason machines were to stop being able to do those things so quickly, that that clothes would be really expensive, and it seems like a lot of people wouldn't even know what to do. So I've thought about that before, because I'm a little bit of a prepper, but not a prepper as in Ravenwood, a prepper as in Jericho. Like, I think about things like gardening and making clothes, not about how to knock over the neighbors and steal their canned goods, because I just don't think that's the way to handle it. And I'm not saying that there wouldn't be any guns involved in prepping as in Jericho rather than prepping as in Ravenwood. It's just you'd use them mostly for like going and getting a deer, because deer are delicious. I we once got a chunk of deer meat from one of my husband's clients. We put it in the slow cooker with some potatoes and carrots, and the kind of thing you put with meat in a slow cooker. It was delicious. And Bambi's mom was yummy, I'm sure. And I know it sounds so mean, but it's not my fault it was delicious. So yeah, it's if if in that situation, there definitely would be a need for guns, but not for using on the neighbors, just for going and getting deer to roast. Because, roast deer. And again, you wouldn't want to hunt too much and overhunt the area, because you want there to be deer next year also. So you've still got to be smart about it. But here's the thing, I don't personally know too much about hunting, except that you have to maintain a population so that you'll have something to hunt the following year. But I am thinking that one part of the strategy for survival in a situation where modern technology and, you know, being part of a large society stops being a factor in life, I'm thinking that there would definitely be a lot of, shall we say, putting yourself in a good position to keep yourself going available in this whole clothing making thing. So one thing I think about is, how do I come up with ways that somebody could help me with this stuff? Because it is kind of too slow. There's too much of it in a way to be done. So if I could get a helper, that would be awesome. But then I would have to figure out exactly what to tell them to help with. In other words, what can I tell them to do that's easy enough that I can explain it in just a few minutes, so I can go do harder things. So sometimes I think probably um, like knitting on a loom is really easy, not on a weaving loom, but like on a sock loom. So that might be one thing that I would go over to the neighbors and say, hey, do any of you need a day's work? Come over here and work on knitting socks that we can trade for, you know, chickens or something. Okay, last one. Now let's see if this is shaping up. There's a knit, and the last one was a purl. I want this one to be a knit. Okay, so I don't know how this went together so smoothly, but hooray! So if I knit, and then purl, it's gotta be something to do with the rounds, I guess. And I should be able to just keep going. Awesome. And now I'm on 4 needles instead of 3. And it has spots where it looks weird and puffy because it's used to being on 3 needles, and it's got increases that I was using the needle structure to keep track of. So now I won't be increasing these anymore. This is a really awkward way to sit. I have got to keep working on this. Ah, no. Still here, promise. Should be wearing compression gloves. Can only find one. Don't know why. So another thing I think about is where would I get the yarn in the first place to weave or to knit or to crochet? Well, I do know how to spin. So if I could source just some fluff, some wool or some cotton, I could do that. Again, though, that takes a lot of time. So then the question becomes, which parts could I show someone else how to do well enough, fast enough? And spinning, it seems like it should be simple because you just twist the thing, but there's a lot of you gotta watch both ends at the same time involved in it, with apologies to a cartoon rabbit. So there's a lot of things to keep an eye on. So I do think people should learn to spin. And I think people who know how to spin would have something going for them in survivalist conditions like that. But I'm not sure it's something that I would be able to give a neighbor a 5-minute lesson on to get them started. So I might have to do the spinning, and then they might need to do some further assembly step. Now, warping a loom is tricky. There's a lot of little bits to watch. And and getting everything set up right. There's the tension, and then there's the threading, and it's a lot. The actual weaving process. I mean, there's a lot of ways things can get tangled up, but if it's a straightforward, like a tabby or a simple twill weave, where they would just need to step on a pedal, throw the thing through, beat the weft into place, and then step on the next pedal, repeat motion. I think that part of weaving I could teach a neighbor how to do in 5 or 10 minutes. So I could do the spinning for what they're going to be using on their bobbin when they have to stop and reload, and they could do the weaving. That might work. Something is crossed up here. I've got wrong stitches going. Into purls and pulling into knits. What's going on here? Where did I get crossed up? Okay, back there. When I switched needles. Knitted when I should have purled, and then just kept going. There we go. Purl, and then knit. What I'd like is a camera that was maybe part of my classes, but that sounds expensive. And I tried taking this thing and wrapping it around the headset, but that just wasn't it wasn't stable enough. What did I just do? So I should knit. And purl. Oh, no, that didn't work. I was trying to put it on the windowsill and it just fell right back. Well, maybe it'll be fine on the floor. Pearl. It. So I'm not sure it really shows in the video, but the yarn is going kind of through a bluish or tealish phase here. I mean, it's still, dark and low saturation, so mostly gray, but it's gray with some variations to it, which I like. Whoop. Even then, something slips off. Okay. So I'll do more later, but hunching over like that is really awkward, so I've got to say that's enough for now. Bye.